So we are recording, guys. So I just created the folder called class2, and I will just move to this folder, right? CD, where I am in the web development 2024, right? So I just need to go to 5 dash here and then CD 1, right? And then again to the CD dash class, not 1 but 2, and it should be here. So every time, right, what we will do to make Node.js project, or to install any Node.js package. What is Node.js package? The software, right? The functionality which will run inside the in your computer, right? Not in the browser, but in the computer. Okay? But from that one, right, you're gonna have the URL, the link, which you will run in the browser again. And that software, I mean, you create it in your computer. You create everything, like you run the servers. You just create your server, right? That server will be in one of the computer. Okay? That is what we're doing, and that server will serve the content to the website. So let's initialize first. How I can do that? Npm init, right? And I'll just put -y, so it will install everything with s, right? Means everything will be default installed as a default. Okay, so I don't have to answer each questions one by one. After that, right, you're gonna get this package JSON. Okay, that is what you're gonna get. The next thing I'm gonna do is npm install express, right? So that is the express package to create server. Okay, one more package I'm going to install today, and that is called nodeman, right? And why, I will just tell you. Npm install nodeman, right? Npm install nodeman. So you can see nodeman here. That is okay. Now, right, I have index.js, I mean, as the main file. I can change this to app also. It's okay, right? I can change this to app. That's fine. It does not matter. So in that case, I will just go back here and create my app.js like this, right? And what I can do is now, right, I have nodeman installed. What is nodeman? This is the software, right, which will run my server continuously. Continuously it will refresh, means my server will be online all the time, right? I don't have to, like node index.js. I don't have to run each time I make change. Okay, every time I will make change and save the file, my server will refresh, means it will rerun it, right? So that's what it will do. But you have to write here in the script. What you're gonna write? I'll say npm start. I just put command here, right? Some command here. I'll just call it start. Npm start, and what to start? Nodeman, right? And when nodeman will target to the app.js like this. So this is the object JSON file. Make it comma, right? I mean, you can delete this. Okay, you don't need this one. You can delete it, right? But it's okay. You can leave it. It's okay. No, there will be no difference. Now, fine. So now I have everything here, right? Let's say my app. I can like import express, not import, right? Require, okay, because this is still, we are not still in the ES6 module, right? It's still the old version. So you have to do the require const. Let's see, we call it express equal to require express like that. So this express will give you the functionality, right? This is a function. When you run this function, this will return the another function stored in this express variable, right? And you can run that function to get the object. like all the functionality of the Express, right? And that will be stored in app variable. So that's it. That is all you have to do, right? Now you have this functionality in this app. So because app has everything like creating routes, creating the servers and everything, right? So you have the functionality. You just need to do is now listen to the port, right? Basically listen to one of the address of the computer. So app.listen, so that will create, like if I just put here 3000, right, or maybe even 8000, so that will create one port for me when I run this server. Okay, and I can add here callback function, right, to test if my server is running or not. Console.log, and I can say string server is running in port, right? I'll just put here 8000 like that, right? So that's it. That is all we need, right? If you go here and remember, now I can do node app, right, .js. I can do this. So you can see server is running in the port, right? But now because we have node-mon installed already, you can do npm start, because node package manager from this package, right, package json, run the start command. Okay, so if you look at here, it will run this start, and that is what you will do with React and all other library later, right, in the future. So let's do npm start, and it will see it's just running now, right? Node-mon is running. Okay, now if I go back here, right, let me close this, and I'm gonna open my Postman. Okay, I mean, even if you can go here in the browser and call it localhost, I have port 8000. Okay, so I'll just go to the 8000 and enter, right? And it says you don't have anything to get. There is no route for getting, right? And same thing here. If I can go back here, I don't want to create. Just select the method, which function you want to use. Get, right? First get, and you can call it localhost 3000, 8000, right? And send the request. And here it will answer you something like error, right? Not found or something like that. Okay, so there is no I mean, there is route, but basically there is no path. Cannot get, right? See, they cannot get. That's the one. Okay, so we're gonna just add one route for now, right? Simple get route. Here I will call it app.get, and the root route, right? So when you go to the localhost 8000, then please run this function. Get means when you go to localhost 8000, please run this function. And here what I want to do is just maybe just let's console log, right? Console.log something in the server. So we call it get route, right? And here I'm gonna send something. So how you gonna send? See, this callback function gonna have two parameters, request and response. Okay, request means to get something from the server or from the client. Request means something to get back from the client, and response means send back the answer to the client. So who is client? This one is client here, right? Somebody accessing my website on this. So I'm going to send something from the server. So that is response dot send, and I can just send hello, you are in get route, like that, right? So see, my server is refreshing all the time, right? Look at here, everything is going smoothly. Now send the request, and hello, you are in get route. Look at that, right? Everything working fine. Even I can test here, it's running fine, right? So I just received the response from the server. So everything is okay. Okay, guys, so we have done that. I mean, and you added the functionality, right? And send the, you run that functions and you send the data from that. I mean, you calculate and sending the data, right? But yesterday you are sending some data from here, from this route. You are sending some query parameter, right? Like, basically like this, and n equal to something, right? You're sending some number. So your route was accessing this value and, sending to the functionality to calculate the sum of each number from 1 to whatever, and then send back that result here. So that was what we did yesterday. Okay, so what is the today class now? Let's go back. Okay, so we have done this. Okay, so download and install the Postman in your computer. Oh, I mentioned yesterday, right? That's good. What is the request method now, right? What are request method? Okay, so I will just read through here quickly. So these, okay, so let's quickly make a drawing, right? Remember, this the server, right? Let's say this is the Express server, correct? Express server. Then somebody client here, right? Client here accessing, from the server, right? From server to the client. You sending the request, and you like sending the request, right? Through HTTP. So here HTTP request, and then you getting response, right? And that is also HTTP response. This is a client. So if we have to get something from server back, right? That is a get. Okay, so the first one is get. Now just imagine you have HTML form right here. Form, you type something and you submit the form. That will be post, sending the value to the server, right? That is post. Now you have put and patch, right? Put. So the put is like update. Let's say you want to change everything, right? Or you want to update, that will be put. Just imagine you have one data, right? Remember in our to do app, you update something. Yeah. So either you can use put or patch, for updating, right? So there is slight different, I believe, but you can use, mostly we are updating. If you want to change everything, then you can use put. But if you just want to change the part of the data, right? Our data will be something like this, correct? You can have ID 1, caps lock. I don't want caps lock here. ID 1, name maybe, let's call it John, right? And address, whatever is the shape of our data, okay? Maybe Oklahoma, USA, right? And whatever you can put here, okay, in the shape of the data. So you want to change the address, that will be patch function. So you have to get this ID data, fetch that one, make change, and save again back, right? That is patch. And the final one is the delete, right? So you have to access this data and delete it from the database, right? So that is the methods. These are the methods of the Express, right? Or any API building. Okay, when you're building API, a RESTful API, right? You're going to use get, post, put, patch, and delete. So that is all the reading part, right? You can read through all this, and that will be very clear. Like retrieving data, submit data for processing or creating a new resource. Like, you're creating a new resource, right? You fill out the form, submit, user can go and log in, or maybe first time when you log in, right, your profile will be created in the database. That is called post. Put, update an existing resource, right? That is put. And also there is a patch. So okay, I didn't put the patch here, right? The patch method is used to apply partial modification. So put and patch is almost same, right? We just, I believe we use patch in our, in our MySQL, right? We just use patch. It is similar to put method, but it's typically used when you want to update only a part of the resource rather than replacing entirely, right? Yeah. So if you want to replace entirely, then put. If you just want to change maybe the, like name or address or something from the data, you can use patch, right? Delete, to remove from the server, right? Delete everything from the database. Means one of the data, right? One of the data, you can, like ID5 you want to delete, just use the delete, right? So that is it. Now status code. What is status code, right? So these code have special meaning. Okay, when you writing an API, if let's say your data is created successfully, right, then you want to give this status code 201. Look at here, right? This is 200. So that is success. Okay, right? Look at this. We get status code 200. That is okay. It has a special meaning, right, for the browser. Like something, you know happens, right? Based on this code you can track the error also. So no content, if you did not find anything, right, in the database, that is 204. 400 is bad request, means user may be sending the bad request, like email address wrong or something like that. That is 400. Unauthorized, right? Maybe somebody try to log in with like wrong password or email, that is unauthorized. Then you did not find that email, right, to the database, or that data that is not found, 404. And something error happens in the server, that is 500. So these are the few mostly used status code, right, we will be using while we are creating API. Okay, so these are this number, right, just to pass the status or some error or something like that. Okay, the next is how we can access the data from the client slash user, right? Same thing. So who is client here? This is the client, right? So client can send something to the user, sorry, to the, I mean client or user, right? Client can send some data. How are you gonna access? That's the question. Okay, there is something, right? Sorry guys, who sent message? Someone sent message. Oh, status. Oh, Ismail. Okay, okay. Yeah. So there is some status code from the Mozilla Firefox. That is fine. Just to read through. Okay. So where I am now, how we gonna access the data for client or user, right? Okay. Until now, right, we just look at the methods. We just have to do the reading, and we will see how we can use all this, right? The next one is status code. That is okay. Not that I mean it's important, but you don't have to worry. Right? Let's just look at the one. Just give one time reading done. Now the important part here, how we can access the data from user or client, right? There are several ways to access data sent from the client in HTTP request. So we are using Express, that is HTTP request, right, or response, whatever we get. There is both way, like you sending the HTTP request or you getting a response back from the server. Okay, so there is a both things happening here. The most common methods are though, let's say request params, request query, request body, and request header, right? These are the four way you can access the data. So we use request query study, remember when you passing data, right? For example, this is the URL, right? Localhost 8000 slash. You put question mark and maybe name, right? Equal to there. Okay. So you're gonna access this name in your request. That is query parameter. When you have question mark, that is query parameter. Okay. The next will be just the route, right? Some route, maybe let's call it ID, right? And maybe name here, something like this. So are you going to access this ID or name? That is a parameter. This is a parameter now, right? And the next one is body. Body means from the HTML form, So the two thing is here, right? The query and the parameter you're going to get in the browser. You can access from the browser link here, okay? But the body will be from here, right? So I will show you the body. Look at here, the body. So if I'm sending data, right? I'm sending, let's say, post. I'm filling out the form, sending data, okay? The JSON data, that is JSON, and this is title and the description, right? And I'm gonna send to one of my route. So right now I don't have the route, right? Post route I don't have, but I can send, So the data going from the body, like just imagine you are filling out the form, okay, and sending, right? That is the body, okay. And the next one is header, right? Also, so you can construct the header here. So mostly maybe we will talk about this header tomorrow, right? How you gonna, because when you building the API or sending some data, right? We're gonna look at the authentication and all that. During that time I'm gonna create a header and how you're gonna send some data, right? So header means, like it has some kind of check, right? You can add some kind of check or some, like what kind of data you are passing through and all that you can add in the header section. Even you can pass some kind of token also in the header, right? So if that token is verified or something like that, you let people log in or something, you can create there. So you can pass some data to the header, but your real data will be in the body always. And then you have the params to access the route and the query to access the query parameter, right? Parameters and query, that is two things. So just remember for now, the body and query from here, and also the params, right? This is the parameter. So let's look at the first one, requested params, right? Okay. So remember I told you, you're gonna have some route, right? Like user slash ID. This is the ID, okay? So how you gonna access this ID? Users localhost 3000 or 8000 slash users slash ID, right? So you're gonna get this ID from request params.id. That's how you're gonna access. So this is one you have to remember. This is one way, right? The query we saw yesterday with when you have the URL with question mark and there is some ID, whatever, right? You're gonna access that with the request.query here, right? So you're gonna get ID or name like this. So that is second way, right? And the third one is the body, right? So it will be just requested body, and whatever you're getting from that body, right, you're gonna have access to. So like post method, look at the method is post here, right? So in these two cases will be get, right? You're getting that, you can get that ID. But when you have post, somebody sending data from the form, right? From the body, that will be post method. And you access that body like this, requested body, and that's it, and stored in this user data, right? So that's how you get the body. And the header, request dot headers dot any, let's say you're sending authorization or anything you pass, right? So headers, and inside that you're gonna have this thing, authorization or any name, like maybe ID or anything you send from the header, you're gonna have that, right? You can access like this. So request dot headers, that is important, okay? And it will give you whatever you're passing, right? For example, authorization is one of the property maybe you have, right? That is what you access. So this is a 4 different way, right? You're gonna access. For now, you will see this one, the body, requested body always. And you know let's say you have the database. Just imagine, right? Just imagine you have a database, something like this, correct? Thousands of, and from there you want, you displaying their information in the website, right? In website, you're gonna click one of them. When you click, right, so you have the URL with this ID or something in the web page, like the link right on the top, like this. Maybe you have, let's call it ID, right, like this, or even just put one here, that's the one, right? Localhost 3000, maybe users, right? Users is the URL and ID is one. Okay, so what you get, this ID should let you grab the data. This, by using this ID, right, the user routes with ID, you should be able to get that data from the user, from the database. Okay, we should be able to get that. Okay, and we will see that when we connect to our database. We're going to learn database tomorrow. So how you're going to have data in the database, and when you're writing the full API, right, or like getting single users or getting all the users, right, or getting, let's say if you're dealing with a product, like you have e-commerce side, you have hundreds of product, right? How you going to get one products, so you can display the details of that product, right? Or you want to get all the products in one page, or maybe 20, 30, right? And then you have the like navigation, to the next page, like that. So you want to get all products, you want to get one products, that ID will help you, right? So that's why getting, if you have some ID like this, you can access in your API, in your router, right, route, and then find the all information about that particular data. So that's why you write that. It's okay, I mean, let's move on, right, and then it will be much more clear. But just simply remember this one. Okay, request body will give you the body data. This will give you the, you can access the ID, something like this, from the URL. And if you have just the params, right, parameter, then you can access like this. So just here maybe one, right, then you can get that, but we will see in the example, right, later. So the next step is build basic express route, right? So one thing I want to clear, if, right, if I will write like get post, for example, let's say this is the root route, right, and I'm going to do this again here, and I'll call it users, right? So this is the user route, like that. Okay, and then you're going to have again, this will give you all user, right? And maybe you want to get the one user, so that will be something like this, colon ID, right, like that. So that's the route. So that represents any, maybe something, right, something here. Okay, and that will be, this is single user, right, user. Okay, so we can test now, I mean, let's test, right, let's test plus users, and then you have something ID, right? So let's go back here, and if I go back here, so I have users slash one, right? Let's see what I get. This is single user. Look at here, I'm accessing that route. Now I can get that value also. I can access that, right? So I just have to write here, let me delete this, right? Const ID equal to request dot, so that is the params, right? Params. And what is the name of the params in your route? That is ID, this, right, this one. And I have the here, and I should be able to display here. Let's try, right? So what I will do, I'm going to add all in string. Okay, just make it all string, and comma and the dollar sign, and just make that ID go here. Good to go. So I can call it ID, right? The user ID like that, and see what happens. So if I refresh this page, you see that I get that one, right? So if I have the user with the 500, I can find their details, like 500 details. Look at that. So that's how you access the parameter, right? Now, this is the user that will give me all user, right? So if I just go back here, uh, and you see this is the user route, right? This is the user route, that is all user. Even we can change, this is all the user route, okay? All user, right? And refresh, this is all the user route. Look at here, you get all the users from there, okay? So that's how we build the route, right? And this is the localhost 3000. We know that, localhost 8000 right? So that will give you, hello, you are in the root get route, right? A root route. This is a root route. So that is the thing, right? So we learn how to get okay, even query parameter. You want to do that query parameter, you can do it, right? Does not matter. So for example, let's access here in the user slash, and I will access the name, right? So I'm going to do here const name equal to request dot what was that, not params, but the query, right? That is query parameter, query, and dot I will access the name, okay? And that name I'm going to display in my page. So let me convert this to the string, and here I will add dollar symbol to insert the variable called name. All right, and let's go back to the route and check. So that is the route for users, right? Here I'm going to pass the name query, right? So let's do that. That is localhost slash users slash, and I'm going to put dollar question mark name equal to, and sorry guys, it look like network issue. Okay, that is fine. So let's continue. So where I am here, right? So I will just put Tion, right? Something like that, and let's enter and see. This is the all user routes, but in I have query parameter I can access, right? Okay, I don't have to put that quotation. This is not a string, right? You just pass the text like this. That's my mistake. So you get here that thing, right? So you can access the query, right? When you have question mark, that is called query parameter, okay? And when you don't have question mark, that is just a parameter. So just remember that two things. It will be very useful, okay, when we start working with Next.js, and you will see, right, why something you pass in the browser, even when you want to do filters, filtering or sorting, you will be clicking, right? And things, when you click, things will be passed here, and that information will help you to fetch the sorted data or something from the database. That's how things work, right? Okay, so let's keep moving, right? Where we are. So we understand all this now. Body. Yeah, I can write a post also, right? Let's copy this. Same thing, let's try, right? Post. So here, so requested body, right? Requested body, and users, fine. This is the route. But now see the same route slash users, but this time will be post method, right? So when you call post method, and you have this data passed, so whatever you pass in the post method, right, will be here. And I can we can console, let's console log this here, right, in our server, okay? Console log a user user data, right? Data. Now the problem is you are sending the JSON data from the client, okay? And that will be problem, right? So you might have to make it async. Await, await, right? Yeah, that is fine. We can do that. That is not a problem. But this will be problem. Okay. So we have to parse the data. But let's try. Okay. Go back here. I can only send data from this place, right? The post, and then that is my users route, and I'm just sending the title and description for now, right? Send, and you're gonna get some error here. Just wait. So it's still running, right? It's not sending the data. So there is some error, and you can check now. Okay, so see, look at here. I get undefined, right? Undefined. So it's still running, sending request, but it's still running. That's the JSON. That is okay. The problem is now, right? It will not parse the data. I mean, see, undefined. So that's why. So let me remove this one. It will give us some error, but let's see. Now send. Still same thing, right? There is some error. So we get undefined. So the problem is now why we getting undefined? Because it will not parse. Okay, so you see there is something called the concept of middleware, right? App.use. What is that? App.use, right? And then you just have to call express.json to parse all that, right? And hopefully try again. Yeah, I don't know why it didn't send. Oh, okay, so already we got the response back, right? Because we're not sending any response. But look at here, our console log already have the data. Our server has the data now, right? So here I just console log that data, okay, and we got it. Title is bog5 description. So any data you send from the client, and you fill out the form, you have the data in the server already. Now you can process here, right? Validate the data, then you call your database backend and submit, right? Send to the database from here. So you just receive the data from the client to your server. From server, you can send to the database somewhere. So that's how the post works. And same thing with the paths, right? You can do the paths also. It almost same for the path. Path means you're updating something, right? So if you call here like paths, right, like this, and it will be same. The only thing is now here I will same data, right? I'm just gonna do the updated data, right, like that, and I just have to change here the patch, okay, and same thing, right? Users patching, but it will be more like a precise, like you're gonna get the more what you are updating, like one of the ID, right? But right now we don't have ID and all that. We don't have the database. So, but I'm just saying how this works. That's simple enough. And it should give you the console log. Look at that, right? So bog5 updated data, you can see, and here is the same thing. So that is the patch. Okay, so we look at all the routes also, right? That is good. I believe now, that's the same thing here, right? Same thing what I'm talking about. Everything what you see here. Okay, I mean we saw all the methods what was here, right, on the top. These are the things, but what I was saying earlier, right, I forgot to say, look at here, everything I put in one place. And right now I don't have a lot of, this is the controller function, right? Controller callback function we call controller, okay, and that's the route, right? So right now we don't have a lot of logic. I mean, one of this function will be maybe 10, 20, 30 line, right? And you're adding so many. This is only for the user. So in your website, you have the API for the users. You're going to have API for the products. You're going to have API for the employee. You're going to have API for, like creating employee, updating employee, deleting employee, right? All that. So it depends on what kind of website, right? Maybe blog API for creating blog, updating blog, deleting blog, right? And if you want to add all that here in one place, that will be terrible idea, right? I believe. Okay. So how are we going to solve that? So answer is here. This is the answer. So what is saying, right? If you, building an express router, right, involves organizing your routes and their corresponding logic, that is controller, in a structured and maintainable way, right? So it will be easy to maintain. Okay. Here is a beginner friendly guide on how to achieve this. Setting up your projects. So we have already the projects, you can do that, do that. You can install nodemon, and let's create the routes. For creating a routes and controller, right? That is the second step, creating routes and controllers, right? So create a folder to your store, to store your routes, right? Create a folder. So let's do that. The folder name will be, you can add anything, but here I said something, right? Routes. Create a folder to store your routes. So you can call routes. Okay, you can name it routes, right? Inside this folder, create separate file for different part of your application, right? Grouping related routes together. For example, you might have file like user routes, product routes, like that, right? So if you have, you build your website has blog routes, user routes, so some people can log in, and you can, like, checking for login, update users, delete, all that, right? User routes, employee routes, product routes, blog routes, all that, right? So now you have separate file like that. So let's do that. What I'm gonna do is, here I'm gonna create a folder called routes, right? Routes, like. And for now I just have maybe user, right? So I'll just take this example, user. Just name, you can name it anything, but the proper, like, naming, right? User routes. You can have maybe product, like product product routes also, like that in the future, right? For example, okay, you might have the blog routes, right? Blog routes, like that. Okay, you can have, right? But we're working with the user routes, simple enough. So what we need is, you have to call the express, like cons. So let's build the routes first, right? Express equal to required, uh, right? And then that is express. Clear? Now you're gonna call, create a route now, right? From express, cons route equal to express dot route. That's it. So what this function does, right? It helps to group things together. Okay, like you create all the routes here and you pack it and send it, right? Like that. So how we can do that? So that is the router or route. I put route, right? ROUT, route. Let's make it router. That is fine. The next step is right. All the routes. Okay, so define the routes, right? Fine. So let's do that. I mean, here I can call it define routes, like that, right? So just remember one thing, right? If you look at this logic here, this is the route, correct? And this is the controller. This is the controller, right? The route is this, first parameter is route, and second parameter, the function is a controller. So we're going to create controller separately later, right? But the routes are all this route. For user, you're going to have something like this. So I'll just copy this, okay? Let me close product. I don't need blog. User routes here, right? Here. So look at here, get routes. So this will call it get user, right? Maybe get all users. Get user by ID, create user, update user, and delete user. So put, or maybe you can call it pass here, like that. That is update user, delete user. So look at all this method, right? So when you have this function route or object, right, from there you can get all these methods also. And you know, you have two things now. The first one is the route, and the second one is the controller. So this is the controller function. So where you're going to create all this function now, right? So that's what we have to create another folder called controllers, like that. So you can have controller for all of the route, like like for example, blog route, separate controller, product route, separate controller. So we have users, right? We working on we user, right? So we're going to create that. Okay, so once we finish, right, you adding all these methods to the router, this imported router, right? And then you have to send that back, export it. So how you do that? Modules dot exports equal to router. That is all you have to do, right? So this one is done. I mean, still more work left, but let's create the controller function for all this. This is just the expansion of this, right? I mean, you have this route. The first one is route, and the function, the controller function, right? Second one. So we just like separating everything, right, in separate folders and files. So we can go back here and we can call it user uh, controller, right, .js. So here the user controller. So see that create a folder to store your controllers, right? You can name it controllers, like that. So we did that. Inside this folder, create separate file for each resource or logical group. Okay, what is resource and logical group? Basically the functions for your users route, or for your uh, blog routes, or for your employee routes, or for your, I mean, separate, right? So for now we have user controller, but yes, controllers I put s, that is okay. Or let's keep it single, right? So I think, yeah, I don't know why I added, let's see. So blog routes, I have here routes, right? Blog routes. So I will leave it controllers also. Okay. Yes. Yeah. If I put here, maybe no, it will not make different. This is just a file name, right? It will not gonna make any different, but just to be more consistent. So now you're gonna write, right, all the routes. How you gonna do that? What is the first one, right? The get route. So that is the first function. So you can just go here, export. I just have to put export, right? Get what is that? Get users. Okay, so let's copy this. You can write like this, or you can do it. Let's say this is a function. Let's write a function get, sorry, get user, right, like that. That's it, and you just export this. Okay, you can do that, and here you put the logic, right? So the logic I will just copy, So remember uh, our controller, right? If you look at this controller here, the same thing, that is what we are doing, right? But now we giving, here is anonymous, I mean arrow function, or you can add anonymous function because you just use one place. But in this case, we have defined the function with name because that name is going to be used here, right? Okay, so that is what we are doing. And this callback function or controller function need request and response, two parameter. Request response, like that. And for now we can send the just send the response, right? Response dot send, and let's call it get all the user, right? Users, that's the one. So that's how it work. You have export already, right? You just gonna import now here in the route. So you can import, and that is the name export. Okay, and let's call it get users, like that. From here, controllers, user controller, right? Like, so let's see. I'm going to go back, right, and call this localhost 8000, okay, and see what we get. Go back here and localhost 8000. Hello. Okay, so I'm still accessing. Sorry, I did not. It's still not fixed. Sorry, guys. We still need to fix here, because we just created the user routes and controller, but the routes has to go here. Okay, and we need to remove or comment out all this, right? All this route we don't need, so let's comment that out for now. All this route we don't need, so for now I'll just comment that out. And I have to import now, right? Let's import that. We can import here, is okay. Import router, not router, right? Route, what is that? Router. So that is what we export, right? Router. So I don't know why it's not picking up. If I just do dot slash, right, so it will give me router slash the user routers, right? Yeah, that's the one. That's the one only, right? Okay. And then after that, right, you have to do app dot use. So you can add here, right? Let's say everything for user routes starts with users, the base route, right? That will be localhost 8000 slash users, and then you call this router, right? Okay, so that should work. Let's try. Okay, there is error, right? I hope I put this one correct. Okay, let me see. Okay. Oh, sorry, guys. Again, I do mistake, right? I cannot import like that. I'm just using the Next.js import, right, all the time. I have to require. Okay. So const router equal to require on it dot slash routes slash user routes, right? So that should work. Yeah, better name will be user router routes, right? Let's do that. Okay, so we just import now, right, all the user routes from here, and after that you're gonna use it. Okay, same thing, right? So we're gonna just use here user routes. Good to go. Now let's try, right? See if this will work. Again, crashing. Why? The file. So there is some error, right? Right, crashing. Node.js v21. So maybe here, right? I import here again. So that is also error. So I must do the const get user equal to require and put that inside. Okay, so now it should be fine, right? Not yet. Let me check what is here. I mean, I need to write all this function, right? I have to get, like for example, I have to write in like create user, get user by ID and all that, right? So I'll just copy this for now. I mean, you see how to create all the routes now, okay? So that should be in the controller, right? Like that. So you can export something like this easily, or even you can write here, right? This one should be fine. I don't know what is the crashing, right? Syntax error export. Okay, function get user. Okay, it's not cannot accepting this one, right? Yeah, that's what happens when I'm not. See, there is two things, right? ES6. No, it should be fine. Okay, exports still crashing exports, right? Because we are not using the module, right? The ES6 module. Okay, the latest JavaScript, and this is still the Node.js still work. The default is still the old way, right? And that's why it will not work. Let me remove that. Let's keep it something like this for now. No, oh, no, no, no. I don't know why it's not working, right? Exports. So exports, right? Export something. I mean, okay, let's keep it same, right? No need to change, because I can write a function here, separate function, right? Same thing what I had. Let me go back, Control G. You can just write a function, simple function like this, right? And then even you can export this here, and like you can put it exports that module, right, equal to, and then maybe you can put inside this let's see, get users right here. Get users, that should also work. You can try. Still error. So it requires all the callback. Yeah, I mean that's true, right? But fine, let's add all the callback here first. So get users, you have get user by ID. Now we have already, will give you get users. That is fine. Now what else is there? Create user, create user, then update user, because we exported, it should give you now, right? And delete user, delete user, save. So now the complaint is uh, okay, I don't know why it's crashing, but let me change this back, right? Just make it simple export. I'll just do the arrow function, okay? And use exports dot user, right? Exports dot get user. Save. Yeah. So we just imagine we just separate all the controller, right, in the separate file for users, and then we have the routes here. Based on this route, right, you have all the functions like get users, get, just write in the separate file. You import that, something like this, right? We just import it, and the thing is, let's go back. Yeah, now we are using here, right? We're just using that one. Okay, now all the routes should work, right? Once you pass to the middleware like app.use, use is a middleware, right? We're going to talk about this tomorrow, okay? The middleware. Now with slash users, you should access everything now. So let's go back here at slash users and enter, and gets all the user, right? So it's working. What is the next route? So let's check one by one. Get user, that is slash, right? User ID also. So let's look at the user ID. When you pass one of the ID, right? You can check the function how it works. Get by user ID, get get requests to a specific user, right? With ID. Let's put that there. So what I will do, slash maybe 100, okay? And look at that. Get request to a specific user with ID. So now I have this route also work. The next one is let's see, post, right? Post. So I mean, I can do the post from the, that's the post, okay? So if you look at the controller, like post, but just the localhost 8000. So to do that, you must use post here, right? So use this one, okay? And users post the sender request, and you will get post request created, right? Create a new user, okay? So all these routes are working. What we have learned is how you're going to separate, right, your controller, that is a brain, the function, right, and the routes, okay? And then you're going to use in your main app, right? That is the main thing. The next thing is what you call that, the middleware, right? What is middleware? Let's do the middleware and maybe the header, right? We're going to study about the header a little bit, and the database tomorrow, okay? The MongoDB database, how we're going to connect to the MongoDB. We have to register it, Mongoose, right? So I will send you the link. You guys can register there, and I will show you how you're going to create database and then connect to your environment here, right? The more important, just read through this, try to complete what we have done, and separate all the controller and routes. So that is the base, right? That is the base. Now based, so this is just the structure. We build the structure, okay? Once we have database connection, right, then we're gonna start building something. Maybe we're gonna learn first, like how you're gonna, we can test how you're gonna create a login or all that, right? User authentication, okay? We can understand the tokens, JSON web tokens and all that. That should be good understanding, right, for the Express and the MongoDB. And maybe we'll check the validation also, right? Maybe some kind of Zod or something, how you validate your data as well, right? But first, just understand this, okay, what we have done today, right? Just try to understand that. That will be a lot of information. So I will stop here, guys.